You're listening to Read the Damn Book, and this is episode number 5. Welcome to Read the Damn Book podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, where I read every book of every author that I interview on this show. This is a spinoff of the Webby-nominated My Simplified Life podcast, where we go behind the scenes. I don't just want to hear about the book. I want to hear about the author, the human being behind the words that we all fall in love with. Here, you're going to hear directly from the authors what their journey through life has been like, their journey through writing their book, and some behind the scenes on every book. So let's get started and read the damn book. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and today is pub day for Liza Palmer with her new novel, Young Fools. I was interviewed on another podcast, asked about what I was reading lately, and I mentioned Young Fools, and I was not even halfway through with it, and I did a huge disservice to it because I said it was about two young writers, they're females, they're friends, and it was very sweet and not so theatrical. And then I got to the middle, and boy, did I feel like I got smacked. It got twisted and had me wondering, what was I reading before? It is so good. And Liza is an absolute delight. You are going to hear all about how she writes, her advice for writing, how Young Fools came together, and so much more. Hi, Liza.
Hello, hello.
I'm so excited to talk to you because you are, I don't want to say you're twisted. It's somebody's going to start listening to this and be like, wow, Michelle, that
What the
was
hell
a
happened
nice
before
intro.
we pressed record?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But when they read the book, then they'll understand what I'm saying. But
Yes.
before we start, can you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
I'm Liza Palmer. I've sold my first book in 2003. Young Fools is my 10th standalone, my 12th novel. I had 2 books for Marvel, and I am working on book 11 currently. I live in California.
Amazing. I
Yeah.
love it. And yay, California.
Yes.
We are
Yes.
here. We are in the right
Yes.
state.
Yeah. I'm born and bred, 5 generations in California.
I
Yeah.
am born and bred, but I am, well, my dad was born in Long Beach, but then raised outside in
Oh.
Virginia and then came
that's great.
back.
Yeah.
So second generation, I
Yes.
guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Your book, it's out today. We're pretending we're recording early. So
Nice.
Congratulations. Happy Pub
Thank you.
Day.
Thank you.
You've
Thank you.
written a ton. This one, were your other books anything like this one? Because I haven't read them in Marvel, obviously not.
No.
That's a different genre.
No, so my books, I think for 1 to 8, it was all, unfortunately writing is kind of, as a person and what you make are very connected, even though we don't want it. Like, write what you know isn't necessarily about setting or character or theme. It's actually about how well do you know yourself, essentially. And so writing what you know, I think you can see in 1 through 8 that I'm learning to get to know myself as a writer and craft and all that kind of stuff. But I think you can kind of boil down those themes into a woman trying to find out who she is and then having the courage to be that. And so it's like, I think 1 through 8 is that. And then I think life happens, you grow up, and those are themes in this one about, kind of the brutality of becoming an artist and how you don't just break in once. It's basically you're unemployed every 3 to 6 months. And also, if you're creating art, sometimes the well runs dry. We call it writer's block, but I think it's mostly about not knowing why you're right or what you're doing. And so I had an incredible dry spot where I got a day job in 2015 to 2022 when I was laid off. I was laid off the same day I sold Family Reservations. I got laid off at 7:34, and I sold the book at 7:34 a.m. and got laid off at 8:04. Same day. So I think there's a difference between books 1 through 8 and 9 and 10. Family Reservations, Young Fools are different. First of all, just craft-wise, they're in close third, and 1 through 8 are all in first person present. So I think I had to kind of go to the woods for a while and figure out how to be a better writer, and learn the craft of it. I worked at BuzzFeed for 8 years. And I think what that did was I was terrible. And I had to learn how to learn again. I had to learn how to get curious, to fail, to all that kind of stuff, and then look at creativity in all these different ways. It's something about how do you tell a story when there's no dialogue and you're telling it in 6 beats. So it really defibrillated me in the most unexpected ways. And so I think Family Reservations and Young Fools are very different, but the themes are the same because I do think I love speaking about issues that are singularly female, singularly that women and the things that are just unique and beautiful to us. And so talking about friendships with Helen and Cherry, I've dealt with friendships before in other books. My first novel, Conversations with a Fat Girl, dealt with a key friendship, a very intimate friendship. But I think as we were talking, this craft of this one, and there is a twist in this one that is very different.
And I was telling you before we started recording that somebody had asked me on an interview,
Yeah.
what are you currently reading? And I did not sell your book the way that now I would sell your book
Right.
because I went, oh, it's two girls who are writers and it's
Right.
really sweet. They're
Right.
like at this writer's retreat. And
Right.
I honestly said, I don't really know where it's going, but
Right.
it's a nice read.
Right. Yeah. 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 It goes places. It goes places. Yeah.
It totally
Which is
goes
why
places. Yeah.
it took, like I said, it took about 7 years to crack it. Because I knew I wanted to tell something in a different way. I just didn't know what the story was or who the characters were.
And I want listeners go read this book, and then you are going to be smacked in the face midway
Yeah.
and
Right.
go, "What the hell did I just read this first
Yeah.
half?"
Yeah.
And that's when it gets really good. Like the book is
Yeah.
good.
Right.
The first half is great, and I felt
Right.
like I want to be on this writer's retreat, and
Right.
you can feel the way they're critiquing each other's
Right.
writing, and
Yeah.
there's clicks and all of this, and I'm like, I want to steal beer and be on a creek
Right.
and just
I know.
kicking back.
Well, I love a writers conference, and I think I was asked like, "Is this based on anything?" It's like, no, I just created the writers conference that I'd love to go. Who wouldn't love to go to Hayward? It's like it's up in those hills and it's gorgeous little cottages and come on, I loved it.
And I also love that it's set in San Francisco
Yep.
because I'm in San Jose, so
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
it's very close by. I'm like, oh yes, hate Nashville.
I know.
Yes,
I
I
love
know it.
I know because Family Reservations also was in like it was up there as well. I think I'm in LA and I'm in Pasadena, born and bred and stuff like that. But we lived in Mill Valley for a few years, and that's kind of my happy place. And so and also that's a little bit different. Like Family Reservations and Young Fools are both set in Northern California. I think there's a lushness to it. There's just that canopy, the redwood canopy is just something that you can smell.
It's so different, even from San
It is.
Jose. I mean, it's not far from Mill Valley. We went to
No.
Tiburon just a few weeks
Oh
ago, and
my God.
we went out to Angel Island, and I was like, we've never been here. I
No.
want to move here. I want to live
No.
on the water. It's so different,
It's
and yet
so
we're
delicious.
so close.
Exactly. It's the crisp air. It smells like fireplaces. Like it's just there's something about it. It's just glorious. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So did you always want to be a writer? Take me back to growing up
Yeah.
and life
Yeah, and I think
before.
that's the dangerous thing, right? I think writers tend to know they want to be writers very early on. And I think we found stories of that I wrote in kindergarten when I was dictating them to my kindergarten teacher and stuff like that. Tex and Animal Land and all that kind of stuff. But they're all there, and I think then middle school happens and junior high school happens, and something as vulnerable and tender as a dream tends to be like, none of that, just survive. Then there's that whole thing of like, I don't actually get to be this. It's like I'm not. This isn't something that people can be, right? And so I think I just flailed, and I sold my first novel in my late 20s or something like that. I can't remember. Late 20s, early. I've had coffee, but apparently it's not going great. But uh, and I think it's been, writing is hard, but I think having a dream is harder. And I think it just makes you so vulnerable. And so, I think we've been talking about kind of that stretch from 1 through 8 versus 9 and 10. And I think part of that kind of going into the woods for a while was about why are you doing this and can we get back to why we started doing this, which is it takes work to get back to shutting out the business of it all, trying not to compete, trying not to compare. What are you trying to write? What are you trying to say? Why would two women at a cafe pass your book back and forth? Why would they share it? How do you want these women to feel? And moreover, like, what is one friend trying to tell the other friend about herself in sharing the novel? And I think getting to the more internal things instead of what's the trend, how can I sell, how can I, what TikTok can I make? It's like it's too much noise, and writing is delicate and brutal.
I love that. And it brings up, we did back to school night last week, and my son's
Right.
in fifth grade, and his teacher said, you will never see their papers come home with red marks for their writing.
Oh my God.
She said it ruins creativity. And I know I
Absolutely.
grew up with the red pen, and
Yep.
I'm always like, let's redline this and let's
Yep.
get rid of this. And she said, absolutely not. It kills the creativity to get back. And I never thought of it until she mentioned
No, it
that.
does. It absolutely does. I think it's much better to ask questions, and I think and you do need to look at your work, and you do need to kind of, writing is for me is rewriting. This Young Fools went through, I think I turned in V8, V9, I think was the final. It went through 8 or 9 drafts, and it went through, I mean, the first pitch I did, I knew it was about two friends. I knew it was about two writers. I knew their names. And I knew there was some stuff about it. I knew I really wanted to talk about high art and low art. I wanted to talk about that kind of why people like the art they like. And is it actually them, or is it somebody saying like, this is important and this isn't, and these people are important and these people's stories are important and these aren't. Um, Other than that, I must have pitched like 4 different pitches for how to tell this story, like what the plot was going to be. And even then, I think I wrote, for one, I went all in and wrote like 100 pages, and it was just like it wasn't working. And so it took and took and took to try to get to where we were gonna how this was gonna work. So I think asking those questions and staying curious, and not getting too in the weeds about the how of the story, and really root in the why of the story, and revising your work in that regard, because that's why the red line doesn't work, right? It's
Mm.
like, I have terrible grammar. My writing is, I didn't go to college. I none of that stuff, and so my writing tends to be a bit conversational. It tends to be a little looser. And I think, had I focused on the actual, like tight, like it, but instead my revisions are more thematic, more feeling, more like, what are you trying to say here? What's going on with this character? Get in there, and those revisions tend to be a lot more meaningful and harder, by the way.
I love that, because I get very stuck when I'm writing on, oh, that doesn't look right, or I missed a
No.
comma here, and
Mm-mm.
I've been told, just get the shitty first draft done.
Exactly. It's easier to run across a tightrope than to walk across it. And that first draft, just run across. Just run across.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. Now I just
Yeah.
need to make the time to do it.
Well, you're not going to have the
There's no,
time. Like, I
yeah.
think that's the other thing. You're not going to have the time. I talk about this all the time. Like, Family Reservations was written from 5:30 to 8:30 before work. And it was only because it was COVID. And so I didn't have my commute, which was an hour and a half. And I think Conversations was written, and Conversations, I was a law clerk, and the same thing, and so I had to commute and stuff like that. And for me, I break it down. Like, I create a deadline that's pretty generous. It's still hard to kind of not be like, I'm not worth the wait. I'm not worth the wait. And it's like, you are worth the wait, and time's going to pass anyways. So I break down my stuff in impossibly small goals. So like one day it's just open the document. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then minimize it. That's it. And the second day you go back, or the second weekend you go back. Women's time is not our own most often. So whatever you can go back. And the second day is just chapter 1. That's it. Minimize it. Because what you're doing is you're trying to deflate the balloon a bit in the beginning. Just that shame of like, I've got to write 3,000 words. It's like, no, you're not. They're going to be 3,000 shitty words. They're not going to be, you're going to be tired, and you're not going to write again for another month. So if you just go in and open the document, write chapter 1, and then the next day is just get that first line, which is really hard, and then minimize it. And then but break it down to these possibly small tasks. That's the only way to do it. Slow and steady.
I love this. I feel like you're just coaching me through it.
My God. Well, because I keep a thing, like I keep like a whole, like I keep a record, because it's like, of these tiny, because so I can see it's like 8 words, like literally, like I would get
I
like
do the
8
same
words,
thing.
because it has to be tangible, because you're like, I haven't written anything. It's like, no, 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 no. Like, look at your list. You've got 8 words, and yes, you only got 8 words, but the next day you've got 110. And so now you've got, and if you look at this document, it is building and stuff like that. Once again, time's going to pass anyway. In a year, do you want to have 30,000 words or nothing? Because you can chip away at it. But I think it's that I'm going to go away for the weekend and do it, and I'm going to get 3,000 words. It's like, no, that's impossible. And it's also really mean. It's like, that's a lot of expectations to put on yourself. It's like, it's the same thing as saying, like, I know I haven't trained for a while, but I'm going to take that marathon on. It's the same thing. It's the same muscle, train, walk around the block first.
I would love to just have a weekend where I'm like, oh, I can take a weekend and go be by myself and write. Like who can?
Who can, but also you wouldn't be able to write. I will say that. You will sit there and you will sit there and you will not write a word. It's like it's too much pressure to put on yourself that you have to write the great American novel on this exact weekend, regardless of what's going on in your life. And you haven't even had a relationship with the book up until then. There's been no runway. You haven't did open it up, and all of a sudden you're literally tying up your shoelaces and going to run a marathon. It's like, how well is that going to go? Maybe
Yeah.
you'll get the first mile pretty good, but boy, that's gonna hurt at some point.
So how is it that you wrote Marvel also? And I want to talk about your
Yeah,
Emmy nominations because
right.
we need to tout this. You're a
I
big
I
deal,
know it's
Liza.
wild. I know the Marvel thing actually. It like as we talk about a lot. Writing and being an artist is kind of a freelance deal, and so you're kind of just trying to find a way to find a pipeline of stability financially and also creatively. You're looking for ways to hone your craft and do other stuff, and also for women, it's kind of hard to ask stuff and put ourselves out there. And so I actually just I happened to kind of just email my agent and be like, look, if I had other friends getting IP stuff, and I was like, look, if anything comes down the pipeline, I'm open to this. And sure enough, she wrote back and said, we actually did have a bite. Would you take a meeting about this thing? And I was like, are you kidding me? Of course I would. And Marvel is brutal. The deadline is like 4 weeks to it's something wild, and it's the pressure is these characters are iconic, and you want to do right by them and all that kind of stuff. It's the funnest thing in the world. The stakes are high, and you've never felt more alive in your entire life. You take a meeting and there's all the Iron Man suits just sitting right there, and you can't take pictures, so you're like, trying to not being slick at all. But it's incredible. It was an incredible experience. It was also really cool as a craft wise of how do you have these are not my characters, so how do you kind of move around in this and what do you do with them? And I did the Captain Marvel, which was basically, it was the lead up to the movie. So it was basically, which was great. Speaking of friendships, the job of that was to kind of, where did Carol Danvers and Monica Rambeau meet? And then they met in Air Force and how'd they get together and all that kind of stuff. So it was all about that main friendship, which was really, really beautiful. That's why it was right up my alley. But it was incredible. And then they tapped me to do the novelization for Infinity War, which was super fun. But that one had a deadline of like 7 days, 8 days. No, it's not sustainable. It's not. It's brutal, and it's pure adrenaline, right? It's just pure adrenaline. But it's so worth it. It's so painful, but it's so worth it. It's so fun, and yeah. And the Emmy nominations are for pop-up video. I did pop-up
Amazing.
video way back in the day. Yeah, I think it was 2012. It was when it came back. So it's hilarious that those are my Emmy nominations. Yeah,
It's
because
so cool. What is
I
that
was
like?
the
What's it
no, it's
like to
crazy.
get that call?
No, it's crazy, and you just kind of I think it's very subtle. It's very quiet because all the nominations come out, and then you see your name, like, and whether or not you were kind of listed or not, and then it's just it's oddly quiet. It's just like, oh, okay, I guess and then you're like, do I put this on stuff now, or like it's like, is this so it's really cool, but it's a ridiculous thing to be nominated for that I kind of the ones that were my strong suit were the diva singers like Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston and all that kind of stuff. So it was really hard too. Like it's like basically you have to kind of tell a story in like little tiny pops, right? These little tiny like 3 1 line like and all. It was great craft wise. It was actually really interesting to tell that story. It took a while. It was a very steep learning curve for me. It was hard
Amazing.
because I
Well,
like to wax rhapsodic. And there was no waxing rhapsodic in these things. It was very
and
much
obviously
like
it was well earned. I mean, you don't just get an Emmy nomination for not
right.
working hard, one would hope.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
What is the love, the want of writing about relationships and friendships? How is that like your thing?
I think they're such a fun sandbox. It's just such a fun sandbox. It's like because I think it's especially with friends, and I think it'll resonate with most women. You've had these long friendships, And it's there, these friendships are not just about the women or us, it's about the eras. Like that was the friend that I had in my 20s. Like that's who I was in my 20s. And it's like as you get older, you're like, oh, like you chose that sliding door instead of that sliding door. And like you made that choice or you're going all in on that. And I remember when you were this, like it was like, and then you're like, of course you don't see, you're like, honey, you're doing that too. Like you're making a lot of sliding doors moments and they're saying the same things. But so I just think it's meaty, it's messy, it's human, it's incredibly relatable. And for me, I think the subtle, quiet humanity stuff is just delicious for me to kind of uh, just spend the day with, if you will.
Yeah.
I love it.
This book is delicious. This
Oh, thank you.
I'm as I'm sitting here pondering, I'm like, we don't give spoilers, but at the same time, it's
I
like
know.
it was so, and I don't want to say twisted again, but it was so just left field for me
Yeah.
that I then sat there and I think I had to pause
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
went, wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see this coming. And then the
Yeah.
rest of the book, you're thinking back, going, trying to make sense of it all.
Right. Yeah. Because I think it's like that end is pretty breathless. Once the twist comes in, it's pretty breathless. And it was getting to that twist was so, man, it was so fun. Like once it came out, I was like, let's go. Like it was just like, let's go. Because it was great. It was very fun to write. But it like that's why the revisions were so much. You had to keep going back and making sure that everything lined up and was
What
correct.
was that moment like when you had that, oh, this is the twist? And I ask because I feel like, so I've got 25,000 words written, over
Right.
25. And it
Yeah.
hit me last week. I was doing
Yeah.
something and I went, oh, this is what the character does. And oh my gosh, if I do it this way,
Yep.
now I have book two already
Yep. Yep.
mapped out. I haven't even finished book one. And I'm like, this will be the prequel to this book. And
Right.
oh,
And
it's
that's
just
why
that
we do it,
moment.
is because of that moment, because it's so magical and nothing feels as good as that aha moment, like that lightning bolt where literally you see the Matrix for the first time and you're like, oh my God, I got it. I got it. And that's why we are sit in that chair and literally bang our head against a wall for, 90% of the time to get that moment because it's magical. But trying to get that twist, thank God I have I have a big community of writers. And I would just, we were having, I was having such a hard time trying to, because this friendship takes place, the book starts in 1995, it ends in 2025. So you've got 40 years of history with these two. And so it was basically like, what's the camera pointing at? Like where are we? Because how do you tell that story of 40 years? Like where are you at with it? And so, and how does that twist come in, right? And the hardest thing in writing is when do they know, what do they have to know, and when do they have to know it? Like that's the thing. Because in your mind, the whole world is there. Basically, writing is just spinning it, like trying to get the words out and the piece of information out in a way that makes it interesting to a reader. Like, because you know it all here, but the hardest thing is kind of organizing that information. And also keeping it real with the characters. Do the characters know this about themselves yet? Because you're like, they are not that self-aware at this point. But you want them to be because they have to have that beat and another one out. It's like they're not there yet. You have to move that. But I talked to a lot of other writers, and finally we were talking about. I find one of my friends and I finally cracked it that the twist was going to be what it was, and then it was like, God, can I do that? Can we actually manage that? Um, and that's why it took about 7 years to get to it, because it was, once you get it, you get that jolt and you're like, oh my God, that's it. You feel that click. And
Mhm.
that's the magical thing where you feel yourself, like you've never felt yourself like you feel in that moment. It's very puzzle piecey. And then I had that click, and then it's that dawning of like, okay, now how do I do this? Like,
Yeah.
how do we craft this? Because it was, and I think was talking to my agent about it and saying, it's like, look, I've never done something this long, like for 40 years. I've never followed two characters like that. And I've never done something like this device at the end. And she was like, no, you've never done it yet.
Mm.
And because I knew it was past my fingertips. Like I knew it was past. And that's why it's so enticing, is because I knew that I didn't quite have the craft ability to do it yet, but that I would in the doing of it. but you want to be perfect. You want to be okay. You want to be prepared. And it was only going to be the experience of writing that book that was going to make me good enough to be able to write that book.
And I did love how you went through the different decades because there was a
Yeah.
moment where I think it was towards the beginning. And I went, why isn't she getting her cell phone? And then I'm like, oh, yeah, we didn't have cell phones back then.
1995, baby. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It
Yes,
was a
even
lot
I
of
had
that.
to
It was,
remember.
yeah. It's like when she had to flip that CD player over. It's like when she's like holding it, on the bus up to the thing. It's like, oh my God, that's it.
And then
Yeah. And
making the
the
CDs
vintage
and
band tee was not vintage at the time,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
REM was quite, quite popular at the time. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love those parts because it took me back too.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
And
Yeah.
I always like to see what part of the author is in the book. And you already mentioned that you didn't go to college, so that
No.
has Cherry written over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What other parts of you can we see in
Um,
the
the
book?
I one of the things I talked about when I had a friend right after I think was in my early 20s that lived on Haight Street. And so that was all very familiar. I knew I always wanted to set something in that time because it would have been right around that time or earlier or late. I can't remember when she was there, but she lived in the Haight Street and we walked around there all the time. And I knew I wanted like the smell of Nag Champa, like as you're walking around and all that kind of stuff. It was just so that was definitely in there. Like I loved that area. I knew I wanted to set something there. I think also the kind of the competition and the part of writing that gets that's tough trying to be true to yourself and what do you actually want versus what do you think you want because you need to do work on yourself about am I important here? Am I important here? All that kind of stuff. And there's a whole conversation in the book about purple ribbons and orange ribbons where to go into it a little bit, like, everybody's been to a conference where, you have your badge and you have kind of a ribbon at the bottom that's got a color on it. And oftentimes that color is very pecking order related, where it's like you get access to certain things or you're more important than other people. And so there's a whole conversation around that. And I think and those ribbons they go beyond conferences. And so I think and Helen is a purple ribbon where she's had all the education. She's had she's a very fancy writer. She's very literary. She can be very snobby about stuff like what is art and what isn't. And Cherry is an orange ribbon. Cherry likes all books. She's art is for all. She has not been educated, all that kind of stuff. And I think it's kind of this wonderful conversation between the two about why they think those things and kind of setting yourself free from those things as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
I loved the book. I love you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
I'm like, you're just, you're a wealth of knowledge. And I'm like, yes, keep telling me how to write.
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
going to finish
Yeah, this gets
damn
kind of
book.
noisy. Exactly. Yeah. There's about 300,000 more stuff going on. It's like just talking.
And what's your next book you're working on?
I'm excited about it. I think, the last three books have all been, I've really wanted to kind of hone in on women and the relationships that are very singular to women. So Family Reservations is all about mothers, daughters, and sisters. And Young Fools is about friends. And the 11 is about the society of women. And kind of how we deal with each other and how society wants us to deal with each other and banding together, banding not together, turning against each other, that kind of thing. I'm about a first act into it. I'm so excited. I love them. I love the main character. She's a lot younger than I write, which is lovely, but I always have to keep pulling her back, which is like she's not old enough to know that about herself yet, so pull her back. She's messy. I know you don't like it, but it's great. It's
Oh,
lovely.
I
It's
can't
set
wait.
kind of in central Northern California again. It's in the lush kind of wineries and that kind of thing. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited.
I know
Yes, I can read it with a
I
glass
love
of
it.
wine, not
I
feel
know. Oh
guilty.
yeah, you can. Yeah. One of the first scenes is at a winery. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh,
And
book
I
launch
created
then.
once again, I created like the town that I wanted where this one character like has like a winery, but she also has a bakery and like a little inn and all that kind of stuff. Lush. Just lush. Yeah.
Make it
Yeah.
happen. Do the book launch for
Amen.
that book, and
Yes.
I will come and
Yes.
support
Yeah.
you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I can't wait. Now I just have to finish it. And that's not
Little
going to write
minor
itself. Never
details,
does.
minor
Yeah,
details.
exactly. Yeah.
Liza, where can everyone find you and buy Young Fools out today?
It is I'm most active on Instagram. I kind of the BuzzFeed in me that has me I do like little monthly photo dumps. I also have a newsletter that I do every month that I started during the pandemic where it's kind of like good things. Like it's once again the BuzzFeed in me where it opens with kind of an essay on thoughts that are always kind of positive and kind of a learning thing. It's supposed to make you feel good. And that's what we kind of need right now.
Yeah.
And then I kind of go in like, what am I watching? What am I reading? What stuff do I like? Do I have any songs? Like, do I have any cool food? Or did I go to a cool restaurant? Or is there a product that I like? So there's kind of like links that are fun. So that's on my Substack. I think it's Liza Palmer. But everything's on my website. Everything's connected, lizapalmer.com. So I'm only on Instagram. Social media is a bit noisy for me, so I have to be careful. I really only active on Instagram. I think my sister opened a Facebook page for me, but I'm not, right? Adorable. I'm not anywhere else. And Instagram is fun. So I do tend to do a bunch of monthly photo dumps where mostly it's just good food.
I
It's
love
good
it.
food that I like, great restaurants and stuff like that. And, went to a Whitey's Jolly Cone a while ago. So there'll be that on the next one where they do a mean corn dog and a great fresh peach milkshake. So that's going to be on
Ooh.
there. Yeah,
Oh, I
come
can't
on.
wait.
With chunks of peaches in it. Like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
So stuff like
jealous.
that you can find on there.
I love it. We're all
Important.
going to come follow
Important.
you now.
Yeah, exactly. Peach milkshakes, obviously. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much and
Oh, thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I loved hearing about Liza's journey, her Emmy nominations, how this book came together. And hey, friends, we need deadlines, right? That's how we're going to get these books written. So I promise you, after I record this, when I hit stop and send it off to Matt, I'm going to sit my butt back down and write the damn book. Go purchase Young Fools. I promise you, you will be gobsmacked in the middle when you find out what is truly going on. It is so good. It is so juicy. You will love it. I promise you that. Until then, friends, go read the damn book.